This is TechCrunch.
Alphabet's X moonshot factory is shifting how it brings ambitious technology projects to market, increasingly spinning them out as independent companies rather than keeping them within the Alphabet corporate structure. The strategy hinges on a dedicated venture fund that exists solely to invest in X spinouts, and in which Alphabet is only a minority investor. X's head honcho, Astro Teller, revealed at TechCrunch Disrupt last week that if Alphabet was the sole LP, the fund would be inside of Alphabet, and then when they invested in something from X, it would still be inside Alphabet. So Alphabet can be a small LP, but if it's more than a small LP, we undo the thing that we're trying to accomplish. That fund is Series X Capital, which has raised over $500 million and is run by Gideon Yu, a former YouTube executive and Facebook CFO. Bloomberg first reported the fund's existence last year. Unlike Alphabet's other investment arms, GV invests broadly in early-stage startups. Capital G backs growth stage companies, and Gradient Ventures invests in AI startups. By contrast, Series X Capital is legally obligated to invest exclusively in companies spinning out of X. The approach represents a meaningful evolution for X, which has historically graduated successful projects like Waymo and Wing into standalone Alphabet subsidiaries. Teller said the lab has learned over the past decade that while some moonshots benefit from Alphabet's resources and scale, others can go faster and won't really benefit from being part of Alphabet because they're just so different. At Disrupt, Teller explained that the spin-out strategy only works because of X's ruthless approach to intellectual honesty, including a culture that actively celebrates killing off promising ideas. Defines a moonshot as having three specific components. It must attempt to solve a huge problem in the world, propose some kind of product or service that could make that problem disappear, and leverage breakthrough tech that creates a glimmer of hope that the team inside X can solve that problem. Critically, Teller said, if someone is proposing a moonshot and it sounds reasonable, the company isn't interested, because that, by definition, wouldn't be a moonshot. What happens to ideas that meet these criteria? X tests them ruthlessly, looking for reasons to kill them. Teller said, if you propose something and it sounds pretty wild, that has those three components and it's a testable hypothesis. For a small amount of money, we can learn something about whether it's a little bit more crazy than we thought or a little bit less crazy than we thought. If it's a little bit more crazy than we thought, cool. High five, let's put a bullet in its head and move on. This approach requires detaching people from their ideas, which is why Teller said he doesn't even know who started most projects at X, including Waymo, the self-driving car company, and Wing, the drone delivery company now dropping off Walmart packages in roughly 6 U.S. cities. If we're going to go explore something, and you as the lead inventor feel like this is my baby, what are the chances I get you to practice real intellectual honesty? In practice, this means X tackles the hardest parts of projects first, actively looking for reasons to shut them down. The result is a brutal 2% hit rate that Teller frames not as failure, but as feature. X has killed off far more projects than it has launched, including entire categories that once seemed promising, like copywriting AI tools that foundation models eventually absorbed. All that testing and failing can be expensive. The spin-out structure solves a practical problem. While X previously had to find outside venture investors willing to take over at least 51% of a business to spin it out of Alphabet, by creating a fund that deeply understands us and is legally obligated only to invest in things that come from us, X can systematize the spin-out process while maintaining close strategic ties. Despite the emphasis on detachment from ideas, X employees do have significant skin in the game when projects spin out. For those working on projects headed for independence, the financial incentive is substantial. Teller said, you and the rest of your team are going to get a chunk of that company. It is about as much as you would have gotten if you had started from your garage at that stage of funding, but without taking any risk in the meantime. The pitch to potential X-employees is explicit about this trade-off too. Your 4 or 5 standard deviation upside is going to be bigger on the outside. I'm granting you that. But if you'll come to X, what you get to do is be a card counter of innovation with us, with no fear and no financial risk to yourself. X-employees are paid like other Google employees, with no equity in early-stage projects, because as Teller explained, it isn't even a company. It's an idea we're trying to learn about. This removes the financial pressure that prevents founders from killing their own ideas. You can say, hey, This one's not pulling our average up. Let's throw this one away. And because you haven't bet your kid's college fund on that, that doesn't scare you. X has spun out at least 2 companies this year. Tierra develops wireless optical communication technology, and Heritable Agriculture is a biotech company using machine learning to accelerate crop breeding. Previous spinouts that raised external funding include a renewable energy storage company, a geothermal heating company, and AI-powered earbuds. X announced its newest moonshot company last week. Honori is a new AI platform to help real estate developers, the architecture and construction industries, and cities untangle the complexities of new building projects. Asked on stage about what makes this particular AI platform a moonshot, Teller pointed to the size of the problem. An opportunity. The built environment is about 25% of the world's solid waste and about 25% of the world's carbon dioxide output. It's literally on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's where we live, where we spend most of our time. It's a big chunk of the world's GDP output, so it would be hard for it to matter more as an industry. That's it from TechCrunch. For more stories like these, check out TechCrunch.com.